Good evening, good evening, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your Realtor Hugo here with another live. This is the mental health check in, your little space to just learn something new about a possible situation that you might be going through. So, today we're going to be recognizing signs of a toxic workplace environment. This again can vary from place to place, so make sure you take this information with a grain of salt as it may not pertain particularly to you and your situation, but I would highly suggest that if you see a pattern or reoccurring pattern of one or more of these types of behaviors, that you highly reconsider your workplace environment and perhaps maybe bringing it up to someone in charge. Number one, unclear communication and secrecy. A toxic workplace often has poor communication channels where employees feel left out or, left out of important conversations and decisions are made in secrecy. This can lead to mistrust and confusion among team members. I am all for, not letting the left hand know what the right hand is doing. That's all fine and good. But when it comes to leadership and the workplace environment where we are all under one umbrella trying to make things work, it is counterproductive to have different levels of a hierarchy. But again, there are many ways to run a organization, and styles vary. So, if this doesn't pertain to you, don't get offended. Number two, high employee turnover. Frequent resignations and high turnover rates are red flags. They often indicate that employees are unhappy and the environment may be hostile or unsupportive. Number three, abusive leadership. Look for signs of leadership that uses fear or humiliation, lacks respect in communication, and generally disregards employee well being. Abusive behavior can trickle down and affect the entire organization's culture. It's truly sad to see when you see a good place go bad because of poor leadership. I've unfortunately been on the receiving end of poor leadership, and it is devastating to your psyche. And furthermore, it is actually quite taxing to even do the bare minimum at your position. Why? Because you have to deal with these people and play with their insecurities and appease their ineptitude. Number four, visible signs of employee burnout. Constant stress, overtime without proper breaks, and lack of support lead to burnout. Symptoms include chronic fatigue, irritability, and a decrease in productivity. Burnout is, again, another casualty that can take you out. And it is a byproduct of overwork and stress and pressure. Sometimes the work's not even the issue. Sometimes it's just the sheer pressure of having to deal with someone like that every single day. And that can be very taxing on the mind. So we'll maybe talk another day about what to do in a situation like this, because sometimes there isn't, the immediate thought is, why don't you just leave? There's sometimes things much more important than just one single manager. And sometimes you have to look at the silver lining. There is a lot that benefits a lot of people in a lot of different situations. So at the end of it all, this is a sheer guideline And if you see maybe two or three of these repeating patterns, maybe take note. It could be possibly something, a sign of something you don't want to be associated with. This doesn't really pertain to any organization in particular, so don't try to make it fit because we all know how you are. And furthermore, it leads into number 5, fear based management tactics. If the workplace operates on a fear basis where mistakes are met with severe criticism or punishment, it stifles creativity and can create a pervasive atmosphere of fear. It can really take a lot out of you. And I've seen a lot of people lose their luster in different industries when it comes to poor leadership. You get let down, and enough letdowns, you really start to lose trust in the whole operation. And that in itself becomes a problem because if the organization is big enough, then it can become a standard for the industry. And that sometimes can be worrisome. Luckily, that's not an apparent problem anywhere as of late. There have been some cases that have been brought before the courts uh, for example, that I can think of off the top of my head. But I digress. At the end of the day, we're all responsible for our actions. We all have to be held accountable for what we do. Leadership does trickle down, and what leadership allows is very telling on where leadership stands. So observe, but don't absorb, if you can get what I'm saying. Observe the situation, see it happening, recognize it, see for yourself if you want to be a part of this, and then make sure you're not absorbing any of the negativity or possible damaging criticism. I'm also not saying don't listen to your managers, don't take on criticism, but there's a fine line between constructive criticism and cynicism, and knowing the difference is it can make it can make all the choices for someone sometimes because of the way just a few words can change the whole I guess vibe, I guess is the best word I can find, just pulling one out of my hat. But like I said, I digress. Number 6, poor work life balance. Mandatory overtime, weekend emails requiring immediate response, and little to no acknowledgement of personal time contributes to a toxic work environment. I don't care what anybody says. A balanced approach to work and life is crucial for mental health. Remember, you only have one life to live. You are spending an majority of your time in your position of employment. Make sure that it's paying off for you. Make sure that you're seeing your family. Make sure that you have a space to pursue what you want to do, where you want to go. Find that work life balance because it's really quite senseless just to keep working for nothing, like Sisyphus, just keep going and going and going, and I get, the stance of being disciplined and just working for the sake of working, but come on now, you are just getting older. There's so much more that you could do with your money. So make sure that you're doing an analysis every once in a while on where your priorities are at and where your work life balance is, because sometimes it's not the environment that's the toxic one. Sometimes it's you're the problem because you're not balancing your obligations. You're not setting clear boundaries of what you can and can't do. You're not really meeting deadlines. Sometimes you just can't keep up, and that's okay. But don't blame others for your shortcomings. And it's vice versa. Leadership cannot blame their employees for their shortcomings. And that's really what the point is. That if you're going to use the same bar to measure all of us, let's see where you stand. And that yardstick starts to look real short. Number 7, discrimination and harassment. Persistent issues with discrimination or harassment that go unaddressed suggest a lack of proper channels for dealing with these serious problems. We see it every single day. There were so many issues I was completely unaware of until I got proper sensitivity training. Microaggressions and, good Lord, just the infinite worlds that you could start diving into when you really look into it. But not everyone cares. Not everyone is conscious. So you do what you can, where you can, with who you can, and you take note, because if there are no channels, there's a problem. But sometimes speaking up is the problem. Sometimes we need people, if you see it, to say something and not to keep quiet. Many of the transgressions that we see and inevitably ending up going to court is because, or excuse me, are because someone finally said something. And that really is the long and the short of it. For better or for worse, say something. If you see something, say something. You just never know who you could be saving. Number 8, ineffective conflict resolution. In a healthy workplace, conflicts are addressed constructively. In toxic environments, conflicts may be ignored or mishandled, leading to unresolved issues and resentment. No one wants someone that's mad at them all the time. They really don't. No one wants to deal with that. We're all, again, working for a paycheck, and no one's trying to deal with the extra stress. Number 9, lack of professional growth opportunities. When employees see no path for advancement or professional development, it can indicate a lack of investment in their growth, leading to dissatisfaction and feelings of stagnation. So it can really not be a positive platform for your growth. You don't need that. Time is so finite. You really need to focus on the things that matter. Number 10 and last one for tonight, negative workplace culture. A general atmosphere where negativity prevails, gossip is rampant, and there's a lack of teamwork or support amongst colleagues points towards a toxic work environment. But remember, any one of these traits, or all of them, or maybe some of them, can indicate a toxic work environment. And they might not, because at the end of the day, you are responsible for your actions. Doesn't matter how toxic an environment is. If you choose to let it in, it will fester inside of you. If you choose to walk through it without letting it touch you, but where are the boundaries? Where is the accountability? Where is the meeting of the minds? And at that point, you do have to decide, are you happy here? Do you want to stay here? Because is it worthwhile you waiting for leadership to change? Or are you better off taking your talents elsewhere? And that's where you have to figure out, okay, where am I in my journey? Where am I in my destiny, so to speak? Where do I want to be in a few years? And take it from there. So, if you're just joining us today, we were talking about recognizing signs of a toxic workplace. To recap, the signs were unclear communication and secrecy, high employee turnover, abusive leadership, visible signs of employee burnout, fear based management tactics, poor work life balance, discrimination and harassment, ineffective conflict resolution, lack of professional growth opportunities, and negative workplace culture. Again, one or more of these may indicate a toxic work environment or not. Because remember, I'm not in your work environment. Also, remember, a toxic work environment only affects you if you allow it to. So make sure that you're staying vigilant, you're observing, not absorbing, and you are setting out your intentions and your best foot forward, because it's really tough to hate someone that's trying their best. Someone inevitably will do it, but most people don't want to be it. And, you know, you can't knock someone for trying. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I am Hugo Quintanilla, a licensed realtor in Maryland with Long and Foster, not a psychologist. If you have any questions, feel free and reach out 240-389-4846. Email hugo at lnf.com and website yourrealtorhugo.com. Thank you so much for your patience and for hanging out with me another evening. I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. Have a great night.